process, I'm going to encourage you, if you haven't already got one in front of you, to grab a piece of paper and a pen. But you will also note in the chat there, I have put a link to the webinar handout as well. So I will put that in again, just so you can download that as well. Okay, another few seconds. We'll wait for a few more people to get on, and then we will get started. I'm just loving where you're hanging out there, Keith. It's looking very lovely.
This is just my backyard here, Celine.
I hope you've got a bit of sun cream on there, you know.
Yeah, I'm social isolating. I'm not near anybody else.
I can see. That's amazing. Yeah, you've obviously just said, right, this is my beach today. Everybody else go home.
Exactly. Yeah, you can do that. You guys can do that down in Newcastle too, you know. So.
Well, this is true. I keep trying, but they keep turning up. So, no, which is cool. Alrighty. Okay. Well, the numbers are jumping up there now, as I can see. Everybody's starting to pop on, which is awesome, which is fantastic. But we are going to get started because Keith has got a whole heap of information for us. Just kind of a little bit of housekeeping there. If you've got any questions, I'll just be monitoring them as we go along, so you can put them into the chat, or there is a Q&A section as well that you can actually put in some questions there. I'll kind of keep an eye on those for Keith as he's going along, and that as well. And again, I'm going to encourage you, I did put the link in for the handout. So make sure that you download that as well. Exactly. Okay. Alrighty. Well, Keith, you know what? I think we should get started because
why not?
I know you've got lots to be able to share with our team today. So let me formally introduce, well, first of all, myself. My name is Celine Egan. I'm Director of Sales and Marketing for Juice Plus Company, Australia and New Zealand, for those of you who haven't met before. And a huge welcome, because we have opened this webinar right across our partner base as well as our customers as well, because Keith is such a legend and has got such amazing information and just wisdom to share. We thought, you know what, we can't keep that a secret just for our partners. We wanted to be able to share that with our whole Juice Plus community. And so afterwards, we will also be sending a recording out, because I would imagine at this time, there's probably some people struggling with kids while they have them home and that. So in case you don't get to watch, or to be honest, what I'll be doing as well is rewatching and rewatching so that I make sure I don't miss any pearls. But let me introduce our amazing speaker today. So for those of you who have not had the pleasure of meeting Keith before, he has done a number of webinars and he has been on stage for us at our conferences as well. And that not just here, but also Juice Plus USA as well. So really, really excited to have him with us today. He is a multi-award winning, best-selling author of 5 books, published in 12 languages. In his 24 speaking career, he has presented to more than 1.6 million people across 23 countries. That's a lot of people.
A lot of people.
So I really am absolutely honored to have you here with us today, Keith. Thank you so much for taking the time to be able to serve our community. And I'm going to go over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Celine. Great. And listen, thanks everybody for jumping online. You know, it's a crazy time, isn't it? Crazy, chaotic time, unprecedented times, you could say. And, you know, it's really important that we just get off the treadmill for a little bit and start to think about what now? What do I need to do now to move myself from where I am to where I want to be? So today's webinar, I want to share with you 3 key messages. I want to talk to you a little bit about focusing on resetting your goals. Now, if you've seen me present before, I talk a lot about having long-term vision. So my definition of long-term vision right now is the next 30 days. So I want you to start to think a little bit about that. The second is we're going to review the right type of mindset you need to have to be able to not just get through this crisis, but to grow through this crisis. So I want to share with you some ideas, some practical tips, and more importantly, to pick a lane, pick the mindset you need. And then finally, we're going to talk about refocus. What do you need to refocus on? There's 4 key areas that you're going to refocus on, moving yourself forward. Now, we're going to, about 30 minutes of presentation, I'm going to open up some Q&A. Celine's going to help me coordinate that. I'll do my best to answer those questions for you. And then we're just going to wrap up. And I want to give you some resources to be able to go away and keep the momentum happening. This is not about motivation. This is about creating momentum. You see, here's what I believe. We're going to go through 3 phases. Here's the first phase. We're going to talk a little bit about, what now? That's what this presentation is all about. The next phase we're going to go through is what's next. What do I need to do now? We're saying the restrictions are going to come off in about 3 weeks' time. Then what do I need to do then? And then I want to talk a little bit about what's necessary. So if you're in Juice Plus, what do you need to do to grow your business? If you're a customer listing, what do I need to do to get back into the groove of things? There'll be a new normal. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Now, if you've got the workbook, great, use that. If you haven't got the workbook, grab a piece of pen and paper. And the hardest thing you have to do is going to type a few words in the chat box as we go through, so I can just connect with you and talk a little bit about some of those things you need to do moving forward. So that's it. I reckon we should get into it. Let's do it. So I want to talk a little bit about what now. This whole process around what now. Now, you know what we need to do now? We need to know the business we're in. We need to know the life we're in. For the last 6 years, I worked for Harley Davidson, and one of the things that I learned working with Harley Davidson is I listened to watched a video with the head of Harley Davidson, a guy called Richard Teerlink, and a journalist. And the journalist asked him this question. He said, "What's it like being in the motorbike manufacturing business?" And Richard Teerlink, the CEO of Harley Davidson at the time, said, "We're not in that business." And the journalist looked at him a little bit perplexed, and he says, "Yes, you are. You make Harley Davidsons." He said, "That might be what we do, but that's not the business we're in." It got me thinking a little bit about this webinar today. And, I think we've got to articulate what we need to do right now. Here's what I believe we need to do right now. We need to connect with the people who mean the world to us. We need to connect with our customers. We need to connect with our colleagues. We need to connect with our community. We need to take the time. For the last 3 weeks, I've spent that time sending text messages, making phone calls to more than 300 of my clients. Before I did that, I connected with my family, and I also connected with the people who look after us. The guy who supplied me with my clothes for the last 15, it's probably longer than that now, the last 20 years, Clayton. The people who, wash our car, because their businesses have been devastated. And so I want to make sure they're okay. And then for the last 3 weeks, it's now been about contacting people who mean the world to my clients to make sure they're okay. So it's really important that you're connecting with people. Here's the next one. Because, by the way, when you get restricted, it's easy to withdraw. But more importantly, it's easy just to be connected to people on Facebook or Instagram rather than actually getting out there and picking up the phone and sending text messages to make an impact. Here's the next one. Everything's changing. I've used this language, the new norm. And so this is about making sure there is a new norm for you. What does that look? What do you need to change? If you said to me 6 months ago, "Oh, Keith, you're going to be running more virtual workshops." And I go, "No, I'm happy to get on a plane. I'm happy to fly all around the world. That's okay." And I was just saying to Celine before everyone got on, this is my 3rd phase of doing this. Before I started off with just a computer and then, then I, organized a camera. Now I've got 2 cameras. I've got lights, still use the old flip chart paper. So everything's changing, and we have to apply a different set of rules and principles to this changing landscape, rather than trying to use the same principles and rules to, fix things. We have to look at it from a totally different angle. And that's where the growth comes from. Remember I said before, this is not about going through it. This is about growing through it. You want to be growing through it personally, professionally, and even your business. Where's the opportunities? The next thing I wanted to talk a little bit about is clarifying. You need to start to think a little bit about clarifying what the goal is moving forward. And so really important to stop and think about getting clear on what the goal is. Because here's what I do know. If you don't have a goal and you don't feel like you're making progress, you get a little frustrated. And the next one, this is a crisis that needs to be conquered. Not just going through it. You need to conquer it. What do I mean by that? You need to stop. You need to stop and think about what it is that's important to you, what matters to you. You need to have a vision for the future. It's hard to have a long-term vision, by the way, because there's so much uncertainty around when the restrictions are going to come off. When can we get pasta and rice again at the supermarket? When do we stop standing on those little dots on the floor? So we need to start to think about how we go through it. So as I said before, I want to spend some time here today and talk about reset, review, and refocus. Now, reset, I want to get you to think a little bit about what is that number one goal. And with review, I'm going to talk about 6 mindsets. And with refocus, I want to give you 4 areas to think about what you need to refocus on. So let's jump into it. If you're following along with your handout, all of this information is in this handout. So here's the first piece of the puzzle, purpose. You've got to have a purpose. You've got to have a purpose for the next 30 days. What's that purpose for you for the next 30 days? What is it that you need to be moving towards? And so it's important that you think a little bit about what the purpose is. Because if you don't have a purpose, all of a sudden every day becomes Groundhog Day. You know, there's sort of no such thing as a weekend at the moment. So it's really starting to get you to think about what the purpose is. Not for the rest of the year. Just think about the next 30 days. What do you want to accomplish, achieve in the next 30 days? You've got to have a plan. Don't panic, plan. And so really important to put a plan together. So why? So you can make progress. As I said before, I don't know about you personally, but I get really frustrated if I don't feel like I'm making progress. And so if you're getting a little bit frustrated and angst, it's because you're not channeling the energy into something that progresses you ever so slowly or ever so quickly towards what's important to you. And then, of course, passion. You know, I've written 5 books, 4 of them are around goals, passion, and focus. And, you know, people say, is now the time to be talking about passion, Keith? Yeah, because if you said to me, Keith, you could never, ever use the word passion ever again, too easy. I'd use the word energy. How do you know when you hang around negative people? Simple. You feel a lot better after you left them. And so this is about make sure you've got great energy. And I'll tell you the reason why. I reckon when this is all said and done and the restrictions ever so slowly come off, we will have chewed up a whole lot of emotional energy. And so you don't want to get through this. You want to grow through this. But more importantly, when it's time to grow and go, you want to make sure you got enough energy and you got enough juice in the tank to be able to do that. So I'm just thinking, this is what you need to focus on. So what does that mean? You got to think about what's your number one goal in the next 30 days. What's important to you, matters to you, is going to make a difference to you just for the next 30 days. Because I reckon we can control that. At the moment, we're in this situation where it's hard to control too many things in our life at the moment. But you need to think about what you can control. You need to control the controllables. What does that look like? You need to control how you react and how you respond. How you react is action. Is the emotion. How you respond is the action. So you got to make sure that you've got the right mindset. I'm going to talk about that in a moment. And then you've got to think about what action you need to take to move yourself forward. Move yourself away from what you don't want and move yourself towards what you do want. So I want to walk you through a 6-part process. And you can jot this down as we go through. And let me forewarn you now, I'm going to get a little bit of feedback as we go through. So for the last 37 years, I've been a student of the goal setting process. And one of the things I can share with you about the goal setting process is that you and I are emotional creatures. Unless you have an emotional, mental, and a physical connection to your goal, you'll never be committed, compelled, or connected to it. So this is about being emotionally connected, mentally connected, physically. What does that look like? Why? What? How? Feel, think, do. Heart, head, hands. And so this is important for you to understand what's going to drive you to do the uncomfortable, the inconvenient, the unknown, and the uncertain. And so what I can share with you is of the 135 different emotions you can experience as an adult, 64 of them are positive. Of those 64, they break down into 8. 8 what I call goal drivers. And so let me share these with you. And this is in your workbook. Is that from all the research that we've done over the last 18 years, people want to feel successful. People want to feel purposeful. People want to feel inspired. People want to feel happy. People want to feel organized. People want to feel respected. People want to feel confident, and people want to feel relaxed. So I'm going to walk through them again, but what I'd love you to do is I'd love you to put in the chat box, how do you want to feel in the next 30 days? I'm not saying forever, but in the next 30 days, how do you want to feel? Do you want to feel successful? Do you want to feel purposeful? Do you want to feel inspired? Do you want to feel happy? Do you want to feel organized? Do you want to feel respected? Do you want to feel confident? And do you want to feel relaxed? How do you want to feel going through these next 30 days? Because unless you have articulated a big enough reason why, an emotion, you'll never do what's required. You'll never do the uncomfortable and the inconvenient consistently. You'll do it for a little while, then you'll stop doing it. So I'd love you to jot those down. Inspired, yeah, I can see that, lovely. Accomplished, yeah. Accomplished is one of those ones around being successful. Fits under that. Purposeful, happy, organised. I'm glad you said organised. I'll tell you what's driving me at the moment. My driver at the moment is to be organised, is to organise this. The 28 projects I have on my wall over there, I want to get organised. Why? Because I don't know about you personally, but I've often felt like I'm a day to a week behind. And I've often thought to myself, wouldn't it be good just to stop the world for a little bit, get off the treadmill and catch up and be able to catch up with everybody. Got to be careful what you wish for. So I'm working at the moment on working through all those projects in my business to make me better, to improve my business, to enhance it, to evolve it. And in essence, to set myself up for the next 2 to 5 years. So all good. Answered. Definitely my prayers were answered. Organised, passionate, purposeful, beautiful. You get this. Okay. So that's the first piece of the puzzle. Thank you. Second piece of the puzzle now is you have to write down what's the number one goal that you want to achieve next 30 days. Not the 40 things you want to do, just the one thing. And so here's my number one goal. My number one goal is to complete all of my projects that will make my business bigger, bolder, stronger, better. That's my number one goal. And that's made up of 12 parts. And those 12 key parts then break down into 28 small little projects to do. So that's the goal that I have for myself. So I want you to think about what's that number one goal you want to achieve. Maybe it's, maybe it's to get healthier. Maybe it's to have a reset. Maybe it's to get off the treadmill for a little bit and have a reset. Maybe it's to reinvent yourself. You've got this opportunity that you've stepped back for a month or so. Maybe it's now time to refresh what you're doing. Maybe it's the time to improve. Maybe it's the time to learn something. Maybe it's the time to reconnect with people. Maybe it's the time to rejuvenate. What is it for you? You have to know what the goal is. You have to know what the purpose is. Now, the date's pretty simple. I reckon it's about the 22nd today. So if we think of this, if this is the 22nd, so we're now talking the 22nd of May, 2020. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. So what is the date that you want to achieve this goal by? It doesn't, I say a month, but it can be shorter than that, and it can be longer than that as well. Step number 4 is 5 reasons why. You've got to come up with 5 reasons why. Why do you need 5 reasons why? Because unless you've got 5 reasons why, any excuse will do. Too hot, too cold, too many, too few, too little, too much, too hard, too easy. And so you've got to have 5 reasons why that this goal is so important to you for you to achieve it. You know, what's it going to do for you to help you move yourself forward? So what are those 5 reasons why? And if you'd be so kind, I'd love you to put in the chat box, what's that number one? What are those, you don't have to put all 5. You don't have to tell me the goal, but tell me what's the reason why this goal now is so important to you. For me, one of the reasons why is I honestly believe this is my opportunity to set my business up for the next 2 to 5 years. And And if I'm hand on heart to you, I reckon it's opportunity to really set a precedence for the next 10 years for me. And so think a little bit about what that reason is for you. Emotionally rewarding, helping other people. Yeah, answering. Yeah. So helping other people. I reckon this is a wonderful opportunity for me at the moment to build stronger relationships with my clients. Why did I go and contact 300 of my clients with a text or a phone call? Because A, I was genuinely concerned about them. And B, I wanted to make sure that when everybody, I wanted to be a safe pair of hands and a calming voice. And so that's how I want to be considered by my clients. Wonderful. Any other comments there about the reason why for you? So here's the next one. So from step number 4, we go to step number 5. And step number 5 is really simple. Step number 5 is, what are the 2 things you need to start doing? What are the 2 things you need to stop doing? So what are the 2 things you need to start doing in your business? What are the 2 things you need to stop doing in your business or in your life to be able to move towards this goal, to make sure you feel this way, to achieve it by this date? What are the 2 things you need to start doing and the 2 things you stop doing? What I can tell you from personal experience is that it is not about putting more on the plate. It's about taking things off the plate. It's about stopping doing things. So you create some space on the plate that allows the goal to come in. And more importantly, when you start doing the right things, you get into flow. You get into flow and start being able to achieve the things you want to achieve. And then the final piece of the puzzle is about milestones. And what I can share with you about milestones is you want to start and go, okay, what do I need to achieve this week? What do I need to achieve the next week? What do I need to achieve the week after that? What do I need to achieve the week after that? And so you want 4 key milestones. Why? So you know this pathway you're moving towards. And that's really important to be able to do that. So once again, know the goal driver, write the goal down, create a date, write down 5 reasons why. Why do you say 5, Keith? Why not just 1? Because unless you've got 5 reasons why, excuses creep in. And what you and I both know is you'll either find a reason or you'll find an excuse, but you can't have both. And so this is important to know that. And then why do I say 2 of each of these? Is because this is about you being really honest with yourself and, and being vulnerable enough to look inside and say, these are the things I need to fix, improve, enhance, develop, create, and move yourself forward. And the milestones keep you honest because, I don't know if the last month has gone fast or slow for you, but I do know that the next month will go fast because now there's a bit of a deadline. And so making sure that you're putting that in. All right, you've got that. So now let's talk about the next. And this is really now about, sorry, my apologies. I've got my flip chart out of order here. Bear with me, is mindset. This is about review. So I believe there are 6 mindsets you need to have. And what I mean by a mindset is I call them amplified attitudes. What do I mean by an amplified attitude? It's this ability for you to be to pick a lane, to pick the emotional mindset you want to have. And people say, I just need to be positive, Keith. No, positive is too broad. It's just too broad. You have to pick a lane. You need to be in a corridor of clarity, not a chasm of confusion. So what do I mean by that? You need to be able to wake up every day and know this is my mindset. This is what I'm focused on. And so what are those mindsets? Let me ask you this question. What would happen in your life? What would happen in your life if you turned up every day and you were courageous? With every cell in your body that you were courageous. With every cell in your body that you were happy to go and do the uncomfortable and the inconvenient. And so this is about making sure that with every cell in your body, you're courageous. Because if you were courageous with every cell in your body, how would you walk? How would you talk? How would you think? What would you say to others? What would you say to yourself if you were courageous? If you were tenacious, how would you turn up? How much stronger would you be? With every cell in your body, if you were tenacious, How would you walk? How would you talk? How would you think? What would you say to yourself? What would you say to others if you were tenacious? If you were empowered? If you were no longer waiting for people to give you permission to start, to be your best version of you, how would you turn up? How would you walk? How would you talk? How would you think? What would you say to others? What would you say to yourself? Would you get rid of some of that negative self-talk? What about if you were limitless? I got to tell you, I feel at the moment that I've got more opportunities than I can handle. I am just inundated, curious. There are things that my mind is going 24/7, it feels like, because there's unlimited opportunities. What about if you had great self-love? If you were not your critic anymore? If you were your coach? If you were your cheerleader? How would you turn up? How would you walk, talk, think, talk to yourself, talk to others? How would you turn up? What about if you were grateful? Here's what I believe. I believe one of the serendipities of the coronavirus is that there will be a gratitude reset. Is that people took things for granted, including me. You know, why is not that plane not on time? What, you know, why is that hotel room? You know what? There are just things that we got wound up about, stuff that just didn't matter. I'm going to rephrase that. Not we, me. And so if you are grateful, how would you turn up? You see, if you can't find the gratitude in what we're going through right now, you'll become bitter. You'll become not better, but bitter. And it'll amplify all of the negativity inside of you. And so this is about being grateful. And so here's what I'd love you to do. In the chat box, I'd love you to take a moment and tell me what's the mindset that you're going to have. Now, by the way, there could be 20 other mindsets. In actual fact, I talk about 8. Today, I'm talking about 6. But I just want you to think a little bit about what's the mindset you need to not just get through this virus, but to grow through this crisis. What do you need to write down there? Limitless and grateful, beautiful. Love it, grateful. Yeah, look, grateful's big in my world. Courageous and grateful, yep. Now, why do I say courageous? Because here's what I believe. You have to be courageous to change. If you're not courageous enough, you'll never back yourself enough to do the uncomfortable and the inconvenient in front of you. And why do I say grateful? I just, you know, a few of you guys and girls know this. Last year I lost my dad and my brother all on the same day, 4 hours apart, 400 kilometers apart. And you know, I could have been pretty bitter about that. Why me? Why now? You know, and my brother wasn't too much older than me. And, you know, why did that all happen? And, you know, instead I just stopped that evening after I heard the news. And I just wrote down everything I was grateful. My dad was 93. I had him for all of my life. You know, I wasn't cut short by an accident. He just died of old age. My brother, I had a great relationship with my brother. And I was grateful for that because there was lots of people who don't have great relationships with their brother. And so I just started writing all the things down and helped me to get through that. So grateful, limitless, lovely. All right, we've got review. Let's talk about refocus. Really important. You know, one of the things here we go. I've got to get the flip chart right. So one of the things I talk about is about refocus. In actual fact, I wrote this book called Focus. And the reason, and I want to share this with you in a moment. I've got a special treat for everybody in regards to this book. By the way, nothing to buy today. We're going to give you some things. So refocus. Here's what I say to people. There are 4 key areas that you need to refocus on. You need to start to refocus on priorities. You've got to have a purpose every day. And so the thing I'd say to you, whether you're working from home, whether you're a stay-at-home parent, one of the things I'd say to you is that you've got to get up every day and say, here are my 3 priorities today. Because unless you've got something to work towards, all of a sudden, that one day just becomes another day, it becomes Groundhog Day. And so 3 priorities every day. Here's the thing. Who do you need to connect with? Who do you need to connect with personally? Who do you need to connect with professionally? Who do you need to check on? Is it a neighbour? Is it a person that you know really well, but you haven't chatted with them for a while? You know, they're not in that inner circle, they're in the outer circles. And so really important that you think about who are the people. For me, these are the people that are really important. Obviously my family, my wife, my 2 daughters, we all live at home here, so that's cool. But clients were really important to me. Friends were really important to me. And you know, I've been fortunate that for me personally, I have talked every day to one of my colleagues, make sure they're okay, and she making sure I'm okay, and sharing ideas. Once a fortnight, I connect with my mastermind group of other speakers, and we come together and share ideas and things we've learnt. I'm on a huge learning path myself. Once a week, I talk to another mentor of mine, and just to share what he's doing and what I'm doing, and to be accountable. And then once a month with my mentor in the US, I talk to him once a month, and we talk a little bit about, you know, those real hard numbers in my business. So I've got some great people that are around me. So if I feel like I'm drifting a little bit, I get brought back to the center. I get back to my true north. So people, here's the next one. I want you to think about the projects. What projects do you need to work on, either professionally or in your business or personally? Maybe it's cleaning out the back shed, the garage, the cupboards. You know, I've revamped my wardrobe. I've cleaned out the garage. I've redone my office. And then on the other side, that's on a personal side, and then on a professional side, I've got, as I said before, all these projects to make my business better and to improve it, to enhance it, to create, to develop, to take it to another level. And then, of course, personal. And personal is about developing yourself. And there's a few things that you need to do to be able to develop yourself. I reckon now is a great time to watch, to watch these, watch webinars, to connect that way, watching YouTube. I reckon now's a good time to read books. I reckon now's a good time to listen to podcasts, to listen to audio books. I reckon now is a great time to grow and develop and enhance your skill set. So personally, what are the habits you need to have in place to be able to develop yourself to move forward? What is it that's important to you, that matters to you, so that you can become the best version of you, not the second best version of somebody else. So personal is really important. So let me give you a couple of things to be able to help you move yourself forward. One of the things that I'm going to share with you very shortly is the opportunity to get this book as an audio book for free. I put together a resources pack to be able to help you not just go through the crisis, but to grow through the crisis, and a whole lot of different resources. Now, I'm going to put in the chat box an actual website address, and it looks a little bit like this as we go through. Let me just put it in the chat box for you now. And so if you go to that link, keithabraham.com/here to help, you can access that audio book as well as a couple of other things. In actual fact, let me just share my screen with you for a moment, and that way you can access a few other resources. Let me just do that now. I'll just go out of frame a little bit. Rightio. So a couple of things here that you can get access to. This is the Focus book. So it's an audio book, and if you'd like a copy of that, then just go to that website. The other thing you can do as well is when you go there, it looks a little bit like this. There'll be the audio book, but more importantly, there'll be activities out of the audio book as well for you to do, and a few other resources as part of that process. So if you want to just go to that now, it'll ask you for an email address, it'll ask you for a name, it'll ask you also the industry, just so I can keep track of where people are coming from. And it's a website, by the way, that's blind, so we don't allow anybody else to jump on it unless you've been on a webinar with me and I've offered it to you. And because Juice Plus is such a wonderful organisation, they've been such a great client of mine, but more importantly, have become really great friends, then this was a good opportunity, I thought, to be able to be of service and have a spirit of generosity and to be able to give back to those people who have been very, very kind to me over the years. So jump on keithabraham.com. And I think what we'll do now, Selena, is we'll handle a couple of questions, if that's okay, and see, what we can do.
Right. Well, look, now's your opportunity to be able to ask some questions. So get some into the chat here and I'll be able to do. But in the meantime, while you were all busy kind of typing away, Keith, that was amazing. I have pages of notes here.
And Celine, you've seen me 100 times, and so thank you for that. Look, it's one of the things as well, Celine, when I'm going through the presentation, I'm getting messages myself. I'm going, yeah, wow, I probably need to go away and enhance that a little bit in my business as well. So, it's one of these things, as you said before, this is a great webinar that you can listen to time and time again, just so you can get, because sometimes, when the speaker says something, you're processing that and they're already on to the next 2-3 stages. So, yeah,
absolutely. And that's the thing. I think, again, it's like, it's just that opportunity to, again, the name is like reset, refocus. It really is about that. And I think that's the beautiful thing about what you came through. Like, what I love about your teachings is, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, it's not rocket science. It's actually practical. That's what I absolutely love about your teaching. And I know that anytime that we've had you working with our team, that's actually been the feedback. I just love that they can literally take the tools and then go implement them. And I think that that's really, really important.
I take that as the highest compliment as well, Celine, because at the end of the day, if it's too complicated or complex, people will never implement. And my whole thing is, if you want to transform and transition yourself, then that's about implementation, not just about intention. So I keep it nice and simple. By the way, I'm a pretty simple guy. I keep it pretty simple so people can implement it really quickly. Thanks, Peter. Remind people about your CDs. Lots of people, there's lots of different products. And look, I get some people are not into audio books either. So you can always go on our website. We've got a full stock of these books, which is really critical at the moment because it is about beating procrastination. Totally. And what we're finding is a lot of people are starting to procrastinate a little bit about what to do, when to do it, and all that sort of stuff. And understand this, procrastination is the greatest robber of self-confidence, self-esteem. Because if you know you should do something and you don't do it, it eats away at you. And so that was the reason I wrote that book, because what's the antidote to procrastination? Focus. Focus.
Look, honestly, and I can tell you that book, honestly, guys, that book is fantastic.
Thank you.
Keith, actually gifted that to me a few years ago now. It's time goes by so quickly. But I would really encourage you. One of the things that I love to do is when I really want to get into study a book, and, something like that is a book that you study. It's not kind of just a one read. One of my mentors basically said, you need to read a book or listen to a book enough times so that you can actually teach it, because then you'll actually do something with it. And so I would encourage you to get the hard copy and get the audio, because you can then be using your book itself, even as writing and making your notes and getting it dog-eared and then listening to it. So oftentimes I'll do that. I will be reading a book, and then on my walks, I'll actually have the audio book playing. And it's quite surprising when you're listening to the audio book and you go, did I read that? Oh, I must have missed that. It's like what I'm saying about the this webinar. It's going to be really important, I think, for people to sit back and listen to it again and again till you really, because you're going to pick up a little different pearl of wisdom each time. And Naomi, yes, I have to say, you don't want to look around my office here at the moment. There are piles of books. I still love books. I love that you can actually grab a book. And I think all the prices and everything will be on the website. Is that correct?
All the price on the website. I just see that. I think we've got that book for $30 plus shipping, and we're based in Brisbane, and it's a flat fee shipping wise all around Australia. So all cool. Awesome. So just go to the website, and we'll get that out to you. Either this afternoon or tomorrow morning. We normally send them through ship. If you're in a Sendle area, we send it through Sendle rather than Australia Post as well. So
yes, I have noticed that in the past. So listen, I can't see any questions coming up yet, so keep thinking about it, guys, if you do. But right now, I suppose what I loved about what you were talking about, Keith, is, you know, that 30 days, because it is control. You know, we know that the next 30 days, we're pretty probably much going to be in the same situation as we are now. What I'd love for maybe you just to speak to is, again, you know what, sometimes it's a little bit like when you're planning a holiday or you're planning a goal and you kind of go, oh, I'll get to it. I'll get to it. And I actually really, in my heart and soul, feel that, you know, especially for our team, getting to it now is actually so important, because I actually think that we will get to a month down the track, maybe 2 months at the most, and things will kind of slip back to what was before. Now I'm actually hoping that a lot of what we're actually learning about ourselves and our communities and our peoples will actually continue after this. I really do hope. But there's a lot of people saying can't wait to get back to normal, and yet I feel that we have been blessed with a gift right now to stop and refocus. Can you speak into, you know, again, why you're feeling, because you've taken massive action. I've watched even since the conversation we had a few weeks ago with what you're learning and doing. Why is it that for those that are listening that don't put off doing what you've just taught everybody to do?
Yeah, I tell you the reason why. I'm really driven at the moment by, and this is not a false bravado or, you know, motivational speaker or anything like that. I'm just absolutely, there is an opportunity here. Now, I said early on in this presentation, it's unprecedented times, but it's unprecedented times for you to capitalize on it. And you know, in your Juice Plus business in particular, where, you know, people now are really looking for, you know, looking for the side hustle. They're looking for the opportunity, looking to make sure they're healthy. You know, so there's a whole lot of different things. For me personally, I just see there's a window. In actual fact, if I'm being 100%, you know, open and honest with everybody here, I am working longer and harder than I have done forever. Why? Because I want to master this. I want to master this virtual world. B, I want to make sure that I'm ahead of the curve, because when we do come out of this, I'm now going to have the ability to stand up and present. I'm going to have the ability to do virtual. I'm going to have the ability to facilitate processes with people anywhere in the world. You know, I was just sharing with Selena before. This is my 23rd webinar in less than 3 weeks, and spoken to probably close to about 11,000 people in the US, UK, Asia, Europe, and obviously Australia and New Zealand. And the reason why I'm doing so many presentations is to get better.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you want to do something, just do it lots and you get better at it. You know, I've learned some things here today. And
that's the key.
Will we be totally transparent with Selena? See, up until, you know, 24 hours ago, I never had the ability to do this, you know, you know, so I'm putting myself and I'm going, wow, am I still learning around this? Yeah, absolutely I am. But I'm saying, well, how do I make this pretty funky? So, and here's the reason, the long answer to a short question of yours. I just think there is a window, and I want to make sure that I am in the best possible position when this comes off. And now for me, I don't reckon I'm going to stand up in front of an audience in a live situation in person until 2021. So I just want to transition and pivot my business. So that's why I'm driven at the moment.
And I just want to kind of, you know, focus on one of the things that you actually said in there as well, though, is that you've done 23 webinars in the last 3 weeks to get better. And that's exactly what we do as a team. You know, sometimes, you know, even there may be some newer partners on here, or people who maybe have not even joined our community and kind of go, I don't know if I could do what they do and whatever like that. But the reality is that none of us start off that way. The only way that we get better is to constantly be putting ourselves out there. I remember, like, you know, my first Facebook Live and my first webinar or standing on stage, and you just look back and you go, oh, but Every journey starts with that first step. It starts with that first three-way call. It starts with that first opportunity chat. It starts with that first Zoom. It starts with that first Facebook party or Facebook Live. And so I think if any of you were to listen to what Keith just said there, the reason why he is navigating this virtual space so well in such a short period of time is that he is doing it again and again and again. And I agree. I mean, I am putting in, equally as, many hours, if not more, as normal, but just in a different way. And I think that that's the thing. I know many of our leaders are doing the same. They are stepping up and going to work every day on their business and themselves because they know that we actually do have an opportunity to get ahead of the curveball by showing up at the moment when a lot of people are sitting, looking around, kind of going, oh, what's happening? Oh, I don't really like this. Again, take control of what we can control and go forward. I love that, Keith. That was awesome.
And look, and the other thing there as well, Celine, this is the perfect time to be, for me, I don't know in your business, but I think it's pretty well the same, is that this is the perfect opportunity for me to reach out to clients because they've got time. The people that I wouldn't have got cut through to are taking calls and returning text messages and returning emails. And so this is, it's just people have got some time on their hands and they're open. That's the real key. They're open. So
absolutely. Naomi has put a question. I just found the Q&A box. Did you find that? That just popped up
down the bottom there. The thing that says Q&A.
Yeah, I saw that. I hadn't noticed that there was a question in there. So sorry, Naomi, we weren't. I wasn't.
Sorry.
That. So how do I create a why, a dream? Never been taught to. Happy to be alive. Not into material possessions. I just do this because I love the networking. Heart goals towards nothing specific. Love that question because I resonate so much. But Keith, love your perspective on that one.
Yeah, lovely. I want to, I just want to, how do you create a why? Yeah, it's funny. A lot of people have this whole thing around, I need to find my why. Like in Simon Sinek, has written a couple of books around that and stuff like that. And everyone got on that bandwagon. So let me just share with you. Understand this is that sometimes you don't find your why, the why finds you. Secondly, is that in the process of waiting for the why to find you, what's your why for this week, this month, this quarter, this year? And so getting really clear on what that why might be just over those time frames is really important. The other thing there is, for me, think about it like a personal why and a professional why. My personal why is to be a great provider and living example for my kids and for my wife. That's my, it's not flash. It's not like change the world and all that sort of stuff. I don't want to do that. My professional why is that I want to make a difference in people's lives. That's and the way I do that is by speaking, writing, and creating. And if I can do that consistently, I'll make a difference in people's lives. There'll be somebody on this call today, and I don't say this arrogantly. I just, after you've spoken to 1.6 million people, I know the impact of what I talk about, and because you get the feedback. And it's interesting, I see people 10 years after they've heard me speak and say, I read your book and it made all the difference. Or I remember you presenting at this conference and you said this, and that just resonated with me. And I go, wow, I don't even remember saying that.
Yeah.
But what happens is somebody, when you're looking, you find the solution. So understand this, if your why is about helping other people, that is the greatest why known to mankind. Yeah. Because if you can do that, you create a legacy. And so at the end of the day, what's my definition of legacy? Something that's bigger than you, that lives on, that's outside of you and lives on after you. And so if I can create a legacy that does those three things, I believe I would have led a why-driven life and a successful and significant life, because I reckon you can either survive, you can be successful, or you can be significant. You have to make it a choice.
I love that, Keith. And Naomi, thank you for asking that question, because I know that sometimes we can focus a lot around the why. And I think I've shared many times, my very first why was my fridge freezer side by side. It was very trendy in those days. We're talking about 26, 27 years ago.
Yeah.
And that was my first why. Again, it wasn't big, bright, shiny. It was just very practical. But what it did do when I had achieved that, it was in my kitchen. Every time I looked at it, it reminded me of what it was that I could do if I set a goal. And so again, it doesn't have to be about, big things, as Keith just said. It can be just about impact. And if you love networking, you obviously love it for a reason. You love to be able to maybe, speak into people's lives, or, build relationships and that. And can I say to you, the bigger your business, the bigger your impact you're going to actually have on people, and the opportunity to be able to hang around even more people. So there's a why hidden in there somewhere. So what I would really encourage you to do is do the exercises that Keith has actually gone through with us today.
Yeah.
Because as you start to uncover what you want to achieve over these next 30 days, some bigger things will start to come into play. And I definitely know that, even speaking from personal experience and, doing this kind of stuff time and time again. What Keith has taught us today is absolute gold. So simple, so practical. Take the time to, spend 30 minutes even just locked down, focused on completing the worksheet. And yeah, you're going to come out the other side definitely with some great actions ready for the next 30 days. All right.
There's no more questions, so let me head it down the home track, and
yes.
And I've just got a couple of key messages to finish off with before we're all done and dusted. So, firstly, here's what I want you to start to think a little bit about. Is that one of the things I spoke about is about early on I spoke about what now, what's next, and what's necessary. And so one of the things I'd be encouraging you to do is to engage in your life, engage in where you're going. What's next is about leading, and what's necessary is about growth, about growing your business. And so for me, I'm working on all of these three at the moment. I've done the engage piece. I've gone and connected with people. I'm leading. I'm changing and leading so that I can grow. So when we get out of this, that I'm in growth mode, not in get through mode, but in growth mode. And so the last message I'd be saying to you is, look, if you've got a question, send me an email, keith@keithabraham.com.au. If you send me an email, I'll respond to it myself personally. And so if you've got a question you want to answer, I'm happy to do that. Go to keithabraham.com/here to help and log on to those resources. I encourage you to do that. And then the final thing I encourage you to do is that you've got a choice now. You can either be in the 3% or you can be in the 27%. What do I mean by that? 3% of people go and make things happen. 10% of people think or expect things to happen. 60% of people just watch things happen. And 27% of people don't know what happened. And so you want to be in the 3%. You don't want to just be, well, geez, what happened? What happened those last 2 months? You want to be in the 3% and go and make things happen. And the last thing I want you to do, here's your homework. Here's your post-presentation project, or more commonly known as homework. I want you to text your upline leader if you're in the Juice Plus business. I want you to text the person who invited you along today. And I want you to text them and tell them what has been the value. Because the reason why I've done this today is because of my relationship with Celine and Peter and this wonderful Juice Plus family. Adam and Kira and Brian and all your great leaders in your business who I know personally. And I encourage you to, I don't do this for everybody. You can understand I've got hundreds upon hundreds of clients. And I do this because I want to get better at it, but more importantly, I want to add value. And I only want to add value to the people that I've got a connection or relationship with. So please text those people and say thanks very much. Final message. Take the first step. If you want to be in the top 3%, it's really easy to get in there. Take action. Stop thinking about it. Stop waiting for things to be perfect. Implement and take action. And I look forward to seeing you real soon on the flip side of all of this. Hey, Celine, thanks very much for the opportunity.
Oh, absolutely fantastic. If everybody wants to raise their hand in their little thing, we'll be able to see as a kind of thank you. There we go. Look at all those hands going up.
Hey!
As a round of applause for you. Keith, very much appreciated. Thank you again. Really appreciate your time. That was absolutely fantastic. And yeah, we'll sign off, team. Let's go and make the world a better place just by showing up. All righty. God bless.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you.